There exists a country smaller than most American states, yet containing layers of history that dwarf entire continents. Where deserts hold water in impossible places. Where ancient stone still carries the weight of millennia. Where the past refuses to remain past. This is Israel, not the Israel of headlines and political conflict. Not the Israel flattened into stereotypes by those afraid to look deeper. This is the Israel that breathes in ancient ruins, that persists in communities bridging centuries, that flows through valleys where water seems to emerge from earth itself. You are here because you sense it, because somewhere inside you know that truth lives beyond what media presents. That beauty and complexity coexist in ways that simple narratives cannot contain. So take a breath and let us go where most tourists never venture. Subscribe, because the journey you are about to take transforms how you see everything. Because the world's deepest stories lie hidden for those brave enough to discover them. Walk through the gates of the old city and time collapses. 4,000 years pressed down from every direction. The narrow streets wind through space where empires rose and fell. Where prophets walked, where pilgrims have journeyed for millennia. The stone itself seems alive, worn smooth by countless footsteps, carved by hands whose names disappeared centuries ago. The Western Wall rises before you, and the weight becomes physical. Jewish pilgrims touch the ancient stone, their foreheads bowing in prayer. The Al-Aqsa Mosque rises above, its dome catching light. The Church of the Holy Sepulchre sits at the intersection of faiths. Walking through the old city requires abandoning linear understanding. The streets refuse to follow logic. They wind according to medieval patterns. They lead unexpectedly. They reveal. Armenian cats with marked ears inhabit the courtyards, descendants of animals living here for generations. Black kites circle overhead, their cries echoing off stone walls that have watched empires crumble. The bazaar erupts with energy. Spice vendors, textile merchants, jewelers, their voices creating rhythm beneath prayer calls. The old city teaches that some places contain more history than humans can process. That standing in such places transforms understanding of what time means. Rising from the desert floor like a clenched fist, Masada sits 1,000 meters above the Dead Sea. The rock appears impossible to reach, yet 2,000 years ago, people climbed here. They built, they lived, they died defending what they believed. The ancient fortress ruins spread across the summit. Palaces, storage rooms, synagogue, remains of human habitation suspended above the world. Walking among the ruins, you encounter history as visceral reality. The view extends across the Dead Sea toward Jordan. The landscape is barren and beautiful. Simultaneously, the air is thin and clear. Climbing down the ancient ramp from the summit, you understand the vulnerability of the position, the isolation, the commitment required to survive here. Rock doves nest in the cliff faces, their cooing creating soft counterpoint to wind. Ibex, the wild goats of the Negev, occasionally traverse the cliff faces with remarkable agility, their forms silhouetted against golden stone. Masada teaches that conviction can drive humans to impossible places. That defiance persists in ruins, that some struggles transcend thousands of years, remaining present in landscape and memory. Haifa cascades down a mountainside toward the Mediterranean in terraces of urban development. The city contains remarkable religious diversity: Jewish neighborhoods, Arab communities, Baha'i temples occupying the same space. The Baha'i gardens rise from the mountain like cultivated prayer made visible. Terraced gardens descending toward the sea create one of the world's most remarkable urban landscape designs. Walking through the gardens, you encounter spiritual intention expressed through horticulture. The city below spreads toward the horizon. The Mediterranean glints in the distance. The gardens teach that humans can create beauty within urban spaces. That spiritual expression transcends formal religion. That cities can be designed with intention toward beauty rather than merely function. Mediterranean gulls circle overhead, their white forms bright against the blue sea. Fish eagles hunt from the cliffs. Haifa teaches that Israel contains cities that integrate nature and development in ways that create genuine beauty. The Sea of Galilee sits as Israel's largest freshwater source, a lake so significant that it defines the region surrounding it. The water is calm on clear days, deceptively peaceful. The landscape around the sea contains multiple layers of spiritual significance. Christian pilgrims visit sites where Jesus taught. Jewish communities maintain presence. The fishing tradition continues. Fishermen still work the lake as their ancestors did. The water level fluctuates with seasons and climate, creating ongoing tension about resource management. Walking the shoreline, you encounter communities, churches, ancient sites, contemporary life existing in proximity. Cormorants dive for fish. Tilapia, called St. Peter's fish, inhabit the lake's depths. Water birds of countless species populate the wetlands surrounding the sea. The sea teaches that Israel's interior contains landscapes utterly different from deserts or Mediterranean coasts. That the country contains ecological zones requiring entirely different understanding. That water in arid land creates its own spirituality. Tel Aviv exists as Israel's most modern city. Glass towers, contemporary culture, international atmosphere. The city barely existed a century ago. Now it thrives as center of Israeli technology, art, and secular culture. The beaches remain central to urban life. Locals swim, exercise, socialize along the Mediterranean shore. The nightlife is intense. The culture is contemporary. The energy is electric. Walking Tel Aviv's streets, you encounter a city that could be anywhere internationally, yet remains distinctly Israeli. The architecture reflects multiple eras, Bauhaus structures from the 1930s alongside contemporary glass buildings. The food culture is world-class. The art scene is vibrant. Mediterranean gulls frequent the beaches scavenging for food. Jackals occasionally venture into urban areas seeking sustenance. Tel Aviv teaches that Israel contains cities as modern as any global metropolis. That contemporary and traditional Israel coexist. That the country contains secular urban centers alongside deeply religious regions. Ein Gedi appears as an impossible place, a waterfall in the desert. An oasis where water flows from underground springs, creating vegetation in the middle of barren landscape. The nature reserve protects an ecosystem that seems misplaced in the surrounding Judean desert. Walking through Ein Gedi, you encounter botanical impossibility, tropical vegetation, flowing water, lush greenery surrounded by rocks and aridity. The waterfall cascades down rock faces, creating pools where the water remains year-round. The reserve contains hiking trails ascending through multiple climate zones. The contrast is jarring, stepping from desert aridity into vegetation and moisture. Hyrax populate the cliffs. Rock partridges nest in the rocky terrain. Nubian ibex traverse the impossible slopes. The surrounding landscape contains ibis and eagles hunting from thermal currents. Ein Gedi teaches that water remains the fundamental magic in desert regions. That life persists where water flows, that even small oases create entire ecosystems. Caesarea sits on the Mediterranean coast as ruins of ancient Roman city. The aqueduct remains partially intact, stone structures that carried water from distant mountains still visible after nearly 2,000 years. The hippodrome where chariot races occurred remains partially excavated. The harbor, constructed with engineering sophistication that amazes contemporary observers, lies beneath the waves. Walking through Caesarea, you encounter Roman engineering at its finest. The structures were built to endure, and many did. The city was once among the greatest in the Roman world. Now it is ruins, yet the magnificence remains visible. Mediterranean cormorants nest near the ancient harbor. Gulls populate the beaches. The sea continues its ancient rhythms, indifferent to human structures built to dominate it. Caesarea teaches that even Rome's greatest works eventually crumble. That grandeur is temporary, that the sea remains constant while empires dissolve. The Negev Desert comprises more than half of Israel's land, yet contains less than 1/3 of the population. The landscape is vast, barren, beautiful in ways that require patience to understand. The dunes shift. The rocks contain hidden colors. The silence is complete and profound. Walking through the Negev, you encounter landscape that has remained largely unchanged for millennia. Bedouin communities maintain presence here, shepherds whose ancestors lived in this desert for centuries. Their pastoral practices adapted perfectly to extreme conditions. The night sky contains stars, undimmed by light pollution. The air is clear. The heat is relentless. Camels roam the landscape. Spiny-tailed lizards navigate the sand. Desert foxes hunt at dusk. Hawks circle overhead. The Negev teaches that emptiness is not meaningless, that deserts contain their own complexity, that some places resist human settlement, not from hostility, but from indifference. That beauty exists beyond green landscapes and flowing water. Jaffa sits as Israel's oldest port, a city that has received ships for thousands of years. The old city contains narrow streets, ancient buildings, spiritual sites from multiple religions layered atop each other. Walking through Jaffa, you encounter history as living presence. The port remains functional. Fishing boats still depart at dawn. Cats populate the streets, descendants of animals living here for centuries. The restaurants serve fresh seafood. The bazaar remains active. The community maintains identity despite modern Tel Aviv's expansion next door. Mediterranean gulls and cormorants frequent the harbor. Fish eagles hunt from the breakwater. Jaffa teaches that ancient cities can persist within modern contexts, that tradition survives alongside development. That old ports retain character despite modernization pressure, that continuity matters. Nazareth sits in the Galilee Hills as a predominantly Arab city with deep Christian significance. The Basilica of the Annunciation rises as one of Christianity's most important sites. The Church of St. Joseph marks another sacred location. Yet Nazareth is also a functioning contemporary Arab city, restaurants, markets, communities, living daily life. Walking through Nazareth requires understanding complexity. The city contains pilgrimage sites alongside neighborhoods where locals go about unremarkable daily existence. The connection between sacred and secular becomes unclear. Arab cats inhabit the streets. Pigeons gather in the basilica courtyards. The surrounding hills remain largely undeveloped. Nazareth teaches that major religious sites are also actual communities. That pilgrimage destinations exist where people live ordinary lives. That the sacred and mundane coexist in the same space. Deep in the Negev desert, Timna Valley contains ancient copper mines that operated for thousands of years. The copper was once considered more valuable than gold. The mining created the valley's distinctive landscape, colored rock formations in shades of purple, red, gold. Walking through Timna, you encounter archaeological sites, ancient temple remains, mining evidence spanning millennia. The landscape contains natural rock formations that seem sculpted by intention. The mushroom stone, the arches, formations that appear almost artificial in their perfection. The valley is stark and beautiful. The silence is nearly absolute. Desert foxes inhabit the area. Spiny-tailed lizards bask on rocks. Hawks hunt overhead. The Timna Valley teaches that economic activity shaped landscapes millennia ago. That mining operations transform Earth. That even extraction leaves beauty behind. That geology tells stories of human presence across centuries. The Dead Sea sits approximately 400 meters below sea level, the lowest place on Earth's surface. The water is so saline that humans float without effort. The landscape is otherworldly, barren cliffs, mineral deposits creating white salt formations, water so dense that it seems almost solid. Walking along the Dead Sea's shore, you encounter landscape that seems more alien than terrestrial. The water is so salty that almost nothing lives in it. The surrounding ecosystem is sparse. Yet the dramatic beauty remains undeniable. The mineral-rich mud is used for therapeutic purposes. Visitors cover themselves in the dark mud, believing it contains healing properties. The salt formations create white cliffs. The watercolor shifts from blue to green, depending on light and mineral composition. The Dead Sea teaches that extreme places contain their own beauty, that life persists even in seemingly impossible conditions, that Earth contains landscapes that challenge human categories of habitable and uninhabitable. Tiberias sits on the Sea of Galilee's western shore as a city with complex history and contemporary vitality. The city contains synagogues, churches, mosques occupying the same neighborhoods. Hot springs near the city have been valued since Roman times. The waterfront buzzes with activity, restaurants, hotels, fishermen preparing boats. The city maintains character despite tourism development. Local communities persist. The fishing tradition continues. Walking Tiberias, you encounter a city balancing pilgrimage destination status with functioning community requirements. The Sea of Galilee provides constant backdrop. Waterbirds populate the shoreline. Fishermen still work traditional methods. Tiberias teaches that resort destinations can maintain authenticity if development respects existing community. That tourism and tradition can coexist. That places need not sacrifice identity to accommodate visitors. You have walked through cities where 4 religions converge. Through deserts that contain impossible oases, through ancient ruins where empires dissolved, through modern metropolises alongside pastoral communities. You have encountered layers of history so dense that linear understanding becomes impossible. You have witnessed landscapes ranging from sea level to 400 meters below. You have stood in places of profound spiritual significance. You have seen communities maintaining traditions while adapting to contemporary reality. You understand now that Israel is not what singular narratives suggest. Israel is contradiction. Israel is complexity. Israel is beauty and difficulty coexisting. Israel is ancient and modern simultaneously. Israel persists. That persistence is what matters. The stones of the old city still carry prayers. The deserts still teach silence. The oases still provide refuge. The communities still gather. The water still flows. The faith persists. The history remains. This is the Israel most tourists never see. But you have seen it now. You cannot unsee it. You carry this knowledge forward. Subscribe, because there are places like Israel scattered across the world. Places where contradictions create truth. Places where ancient and modern negotiate existence. Places where spirituality remains central. Places where beauty persists despite complexity. The world is far more profound than tourism suggests. There are always more journeys to take. Always more stories waiting. Always more wonder to discover. Go, explore, understand, live authentically.